All right, so thanks for stopping by. This is Ernie Lindsey. I'm the author of Warchild. I'm going to be reading the first chapter of it to you today just because I think that's a neat way to share this thing. I love this story. While I was writing it, this thing was so intense that I could feel myself, getting caught up in it, and it really, it's just an intense story. In these first few chapters, um, they just fly by. So I'm going to read this first one to you, and when we're done with that, you can check those links down there at the bottom and sign up to to see the next couple of chapters, and hopefully it'll intrigue you to keep reading more. So, all right, here we go. Warchild, Chapter 1. Don't ask me how or why the world ended, because I can't tell you. They stopped teaching us about our history long before I was born and before grandfather was born. The only connections we have to the past are the story the elders tell around the campfires when they're trying to scare the children. Maybe I believe some of these stories. The tall tales about cars and how people actually drove them. I've never seen one, but it seems possible. What's left of the roads, those dark, hardened paths cutting through the Appalachian Mountains, crumbling and filled with holes, they had to be used for something. They go somewhere far, far from here. But if you're smart, you stay away. They're too open, too exposed. Roving bands of Republicans hide in the hills, waiting on travelers too tired or too ignorant to know that they've crossed into the PRV, the People's Republic of Virginia. That's where I live, if you could call it living. We are the depths of what remains. If you can survive here, you can survive anywhere. I'm leaving one day, but first, war is coming. The drums echo down through the valley, racing across the lake and up the hillside where I'm hiding in a thick group of rhododendrons. It's been raining for months, and at first I think the heavy, rhythmic booming might be thunder. Blue sky? I don't remember what it looks like. I know the difference between drums and thunder, but when you've been on point for 24 hours, watching, waiting, scouting, your mind starts to go numb. The crack of a branch might be a warning of an approaching bear, or the screech of a blue jay might sound like an arrow flying by your head. It all blends together. They say that when one of your senses goes, the rest of them work harder to try to compensate. But when your mind starts to stumble from exhaustion, they're all hazy. I shake my head, clearing out what cobwebs remain. There it is again. Boom, boom, ba-boom. As this ominous sound registers for what it is, it sends a shot of adrenaline through my body, and I'm instantly alert, shocked out of the fog and terrified. The elders said this would happen. They didn't say when, but they knew it was inevitable. Grandfather told me so. He said that Ellery, the mystic, spoke of it during their last meeting. War, was all she said. When I lean up on my knees and push the branches apart, the wet leaves dump their rain puddles into my shirt, where it runs down my back and gives me the shivers. Or maybe it's the drums. I can't tell the difference. Boom, boom, ba-boom. Boom, boom, ba-boom. I cock my ear and listen intently, just to make sure. Sometimes the younger children will sneak up into the hills and pretend to have battles. There's always a fight over who gets to be a part of the PRV and who gets to be on the side of the DAV. The Democratic Alliance of Virginia, our northern enemies. The children play their little drums and shout and pretend to shoot each other from blinds and tree houses. But this sound is bigger, heavier. Boom, boom, ba-boom. Boom, boom, ba-boom. It's the war rhythm, for sure, which means it's coming from a large army. The children's drums are softer, no bigger than the buckets we use to carry water. And in fact, that's what they are. Old buckets with animal hides stretched across the top. Boom, boom, ba-boom. Boom, boom, ba-boom. I strain to hear over the rain pounding the leaves in the forest floor, trying to figure out how far away the invaders might be. With all the forest noise amplified by the downpour, it's hard to say. I focus, hard, grinding my teeth together as if that'll allow me to hear more clearly. Then I realize they have to be closer than I thought. Ellery tells stories of how, in the past, they could hear them coming from 2 valleys over. But this? No, this is different. The sound is too defined, the echo is too clear, to be coming from the other side of Raphael's Ridge to the north. The trees and underbrush would dull the sounds if they were that far away. They've crossed the ridge already, and I'll be in trouble for not reporting in soon enough. If I can't make it back to our encampment within a few minutes, we'll never get prepared in time. I grab my supply sack, the one filled with a canteen of water, soggy, rain-soaked bread, and goat cheese. Pick up my slingshot, my bag of hand-picked rocks, and then I run down the hillside, slipping on the wet leaves and muddy earth, trying to be careful, but hurtling in a panic at the same time. I don't want to break an ankle, because if I'm lying in a writhing heap of pain and can't make it back to warn the others, we're doomed. I reach the path skirting the lake's edge, intact and unbroken, and then push my legs into a hard sprint. My feet squish inside my boots, and I slip several times on the wet mud, my pack swinging wildly on my shoulder, but I keep going, running between the trees, jumping over down limbs and rock slides that have happened because of the constant rain. The ground can only contain so much water before it loosens its grip and sends the small boulders tumbling down the hillside. I jump over the same pine tree that's blocked the path for years. I should know better. I should remember that the path dips on the other side. But I'm panicked, not thinking clearly, and I forget this important fact. When I land, my boots slide with the mud, kicking out in front of me, and for a brief moment I'm airborne, sailing along, and if I knew that the landing wasn't going to hurt like hell, it might be peaceful, almost enjoyable. It seems to take forever, but it can't be more than a few feet before I finally land on my backside, my jaws clashing together, biting my tongue as I skitter down the decline. Pain arcs from my tailbone all the way up into my skull, and I taste blood in my mouth. My tongue throbs. The pain in my back is sharp and blinding, but I get up and I keep moving. Hundreds of lives, everyone in our encampment, they all depend on me and the other scouts to deliver the reports so they can gather up their weapons and cover their shacks with an extra layer of metal or whatever they can find. Mostly, and not very often, maybe once a month or so, a scout will come hurrying into camp and report that he or she has spotted a roving band of Republicans. These raiders, these thieves, travel in small packs, 5 to 10 of them at most, and they're easy to fight off. They don't like to fight when they don't have the advantage, and if you can get prepared swiftly enough, they'll scope out the situation and move on. But if they catch a scout napping and can sneak in unaware, you can count on lost lives and lost supplies. Our group is especially efficient, and we've never been attacked, not as long as I've been alive. When we instruct new recruits, we train well and we train hard, and that's made all the difference. Everyone within our encampment knows how to fight. The elders, every man, woman, and child, the blind and the limbless. If you can pick up a weapon, any kind of weapon, you're trained how to use it. Thankfully, and up until now, we've never had to. Grandfather says that we haven't been invaded in his lifetime, nor in the lifetime of his forefathers. Only Ellery, the mystic, tells stories of past battles. No one knows how old she is, and she won't say. How she's managed to live this long is anyone's guess. Good genetics, maybe, or altered genes. Rumors travel on whispers from shack to shack that she's the last remaining kinder. Again, they're only legends, but the elders talk of experiments in the olden days, back when there was a government that thought they were in control, back before the world ended. In the clearing, off in the distance, I'm close enough to see wisps of smoke from the encampment. It hangs low over the rooftops. The air pressure keeps it down, forming a low layer of gray clouds hovering above the tin roofs. Another half mile and I can deliver the bad news. Behind me, a round of booming echoes throughout the valley and races across the lake. The sound travels unhindered, creating the sensation that they're closer than what they really are. It's loud enough that I wonder if the others back home have heard it already. It's possible, and if so, I'm in trouble for not warning them either. It's my job, any scout's job, to observe these things long before it has a chance to reach the ears of those we're trying to protect. I run, my lungs and legs ache. I spit out a mouthful of blood and gingerly test my tongue against my teeth. Ouch, yeah, it still hurts. No need to test that again. I've been in such a frenzied state, in a mad dash to get back to safety, that I've forgotten something, or someone, rather. Finn, I say out loud. He's my forbidden friend, a member of the DAV, one of their forward scouts that I met in the forest a year ago. I think, why didn't he warn me? And then I keep running. We met on a sunny afternoon before the rains came and rarely stopped, and our first encounter didn't go well. He was far away from home, 200 miles at the least, and someone from the DAV had never been that far south before, Not in my lifetime. Looking back, that may have been the beginning of their plans, the genesis of their war machine. I trusted him. I probably shouldn't have. That day, I'd been hiding in the rhododendrons as usual, and I heard something down by the lake. By then, I'd been on point for over a year, and I knew the sounds of the forest well. Which trees creaked in the wind, which chipmunks lived in which burrows, what time every morning the herd of deer came through for watering. The new noise was foreign, so I snuck down to the lake to see what it was. I found him bent over a stream, drinking the runoff that feeds into the lake. He surrendered when I held a knife to his throat, told me who he was, where he was from, and what he was doing so far south. I promised not to kill him if he gave me information whenever he passed through the area. I didn't see him often, maybe once every couple of months, but he would always bring me gifts and thank me for sparing his life. Gifts like apples and cured meat, things we didn't have the resources for in my encampment. He brought news, too, news of DAV troop movements, news of how many groups of Republicans he'd seen in the area, or news of the world outside our valley. The information wasn't worth much, but I liked hearing about what happened outside of our valley. People were still starving. Rain had washed out ancient bridges and dams. DAV regiments from Pennsylvania and New York had formed an alliance instead of warring between themselves. I kept this information to myself. It was never important enough to affect our immediate families. This stuff that happened 200 or hundreds of miles away and in a group where everything was shared, right down to the same hole in the ground when our bodies required relief. It felt good, personal, to have something of my own, something that no one else had. My secrets were mine, and now maybe they'd cost many lives. By the time I make it to the encampment, I can no longer hear the drums behind me high up in the valley. The pounding of the rain on the ground, on scrap metal roofs and barrels where we store water for bathing and cooking, drowns out the drumming. I'm relieved because I won't be in trouble for not getting back soon enough, yet it's also bittersweet because they haven't begun to prepare. It may already be too late. All right, well, there you go. That's Chapter 1 of Warchild. It's the first installment of a series of what I hope to be two more books, maybe more. There's plenty of room there for a good-sized series, but right now we're looking at doing 3. So if you'd like to read more, click that link down there below and sign up, and I'll send you the next 2 chapters in your email. And then after that, hopefully you'll be ready to read the rest of it. All right, thanks.